back. You are watching Big Story here on One News. China has now built a fully functional military base at Subi Reef in the West Philippine Sea, complete with airstrips and harbors for warships. That's according to the Philippine Navy, which says it's also continuing to monitor Chinese ships in the area. Gio Robles with a report.
A fully functional military base can now be seen in Subi or Zamora Reef in the West Philippine Sea. A recent aerial survey revealed the extent of China's island building over the years. No longer is the feature just a simple low-tide elevation, but a reminder of China's unchallenged presence in the area.
Subi, Mischief, Johnson are already militarized. They have airstrips, they have harbors for warships. There are structures on land that we could only surmise are aircraft hangars. They have military-grade communications equipment. These are functional military bases. They have already militarized the South China Sea.
Reports have it that China was able to reclaim around 3,000 hectares of maritime features in the South China Sea since 2013. This includes Subi Reef, which is outside the Philippines' exclusive economic zone but is part of Pag-asa Island's 12 nautical mile territorial sea. The Philippine Navy said they did not monitor any massive reclamation activity from China recently, but they continue to keep a lookout. The PCG vessel BRP Teresa Magbanwa also remains stationed at the Sabina or Escoda Shoal. It has been assisting the Philippine Navy and BIFAR in patrolling the area since April. This as more Chinese vessels are still being spotted in the West Philippine Sea. There's also the constant presence of the China Coast Guard's monster ship. The Navy is also continuing to monitor a Chinese research vessel along Escoda Shoal, which it says is looking suspicious.
Pag nakita mo na innocent passage or freedom of navigation, continuous and expeditious, yung pinakamalapit na daan, yung pinakamabilis na speed. Okay. Pag nagsisigsag ka, may ginagawa ka ibang bakal. Kumbaga sa barangay natin, pag yung tao paali-aligid, may masamang intensyon yan.
Beijing and Manila recently reached a provisional agreement to de-escalate tensions in the region. But the Philippine Navy says both sides continue to be watchful of the other.
We're watching them, they're watching us. We have increased presence in Sabina Shoal or Escoda just to ensure that there is no man-made activity to pile up crash corals on the shoal.
For News 5, Gio Robles, we are One News.
The Justice Department has issued an immigration lookout bulletin order against former presidential spokesman Harry Roque and 11 other individuals over their alleged connection to Lucky South 99, the Pogo hub raided in Pampanga. Details from Camilo Samonte.
The Justice Department has released an Immigration Lookout Bulletin Order or an ILBO for former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque and 11 other personalities. This is over their alleged connection to Lucky South 99, the Pogo hub raided last June in Porac, Pampanga. Aside from Roque, the Lookout Bulletin list includes Lucky South 99 Authorized Representative Cassandra Leong and Dennis Cunanan, who is also being tagged in operations of another Pogo hub, this time in Bamban, Tarlac. Cunanan has been convicted for the pork barrel scam some years ago. According to the DOJ, they have information that Cassandra Leong has already flown out of the Philippines. That's why they elbow to prevent other so-called persons of interest from leaving.
Sa tingin po ng mga otoridad na may flight risk ho sila, we usually issue a lookout bulletin order for them. Not because we want to restrict their travel, but just so the authorities know, no, na lumabas sila ng bansa or pumasok sila bansa.
Among those in the lookout list, only Cunanan is facing an official complaint, qualified human trafficking in connection with the Tarlac Pogo hub. The DOJ says it is just being cautious at this point.
Ayaw naman po natin na sa gitna ng investigation, bigla na lang silang aalis at hindi natin alam. We want to make sure that the investigation stands.
Yan po ay kahit walang formal complaint.
But for Attorney Roque, this is plain and simple witch hunt, a move to silence him as a critic of the Marcos administration. Still, the former presidential spokesman says he's not going anywhere and will face his accusers. The Justice Department has denied singling out Roque since he's not the only one in the lookout for order list. Meantime, suspended Bamban Mayor Alice Go was still a no-show in the DOJ's preliminary investigation. Go is facing qualified human trafficking complaint along with several others. The state prosecutor denied the embattled mayor's request to extend the deadline for the filing of a counter-affidavit, which is today. But the prosecutor allowed Cunanan and two other Chinese Pogo incorporators an extension since they changed lawyers. The next hearing is set for next week. For News 5, Camille Samonte, we are One News.
Let's hash this out with none other than Attorney Harry Roque, who joins us now live via Zoom. Good evening. Welcome to the Big Story, Attorney.
Good evening, ladies, and thank you for the opportunity to be heard.
Right. So the DOJ says you're a flight risk, and considering the gravity of the possible charges, they say that you, and along with the 11 others that was put on the ILBO, may attempt to place yourselves beyond the reach of the legal processes by leaving the country. May I have your reaction, please?
It's plain and simple harassment. Of everyone in that list, I'm the only one who is not a stockholder. I'm the only one who is not an officer of Lucky South. In fact, I have nothing to do with Lucky South. We have seen in the Senate and in the House how Senator Rizzo Ontiveros has been insisting that when I accompanied Cassie Ong to PAGCOR in order to arrange a gifts, payment by gifts of indebtedness to PAGCOR because of alleged swindling, that made me an agent of Lucky South. But as far as I'm concerned, there is no meeting of the minds between me and anyone who is a stockholder or an officer of Lucky South. I knew Cassie Ong as an employee of Whirlwind. And the other evidence that they have is supposedly a corporation organizational chart, which I had nothing to do with. So plain and simple, if there simply is no evidence linking me to Lucky South, number one, and number two, there's still no evidence that Lucky South did anything wrong, highlighting the fact that when they were raided, they did not raid an operating entity and seem to have complied with orders from the PAGCOR to cease and desist from operations. Where are the illegal acts? Which brings me now to the conclusion that I'm being harassed because I'm a very vocal critic of the president, especially on the issue of drug use. And I have been asking the president, is it true that you're a drug user? Because we saw a video, duly authenticated, of someone who looks like the president, sniffing cocaine, or at least a powdery white substance, and now corroborated by the testimony of Kathy.
Okay, let's not let the issue get too far away from us. I'm gonna address some of the. Let's.
That's why there is harassment.
Let's address some of the points that you
number
raised.
One, there is lack of evidence
Attorney,
to link me with Lucky
Attorney,
South,
hold on. So the senators. So to your point about your connection to Lucky South 99. The senators say that you're essentially, that's exactly it, that you're essentially lawyered for Lucky South because you helped Cassandra Lee Ong settle the arrears and help them process the license. Why do you not see that as representing Lucky South 99?
Because Whirlwind is in fact the lesser of Lucky South. And they provide services to Lucky South because Lucky South, as a POGO, are composed of Chinese people who can't even speak English. That's part and parcel of the business practice of POGO. They need locals to represent them. And that is why at the time when we met PAGCOR chair, the legal representative of Lucky South was Dennis Cunanan. So that does not prove anything, because you can be a legal counsel to a person who is not at all related to Lucky South. And that was what happened to us. As in fact, I submitted documents in the Senate indicating that in 2 weeks' time, I entered my appearance as counsel for Whirlwind in 3 cases involving ejectment, and this had to do with the premises where the POGO was located because, as I said, they are the landlord to Lucky South. Now, furthermore, in order to indict me for any wrongdoing, they must show what my wrongdoing is. What they're doing is a very dangerous precedent that, assuming, for the sake of argument, that I lawyered for Lucky South, is that sufficient for legal liability? In fact, the Supreme Court has said that even the most gruesome and loathsome criminal is entitled to legal representation. So why should it be a sin now to lawyer for anyone? As I said, there is no rhyme or reason to include me as a person of interest, and the fact that they did and they included me in this list is pure harassment.
You know, a few weeks ago we spoke to PAGCOR Chair Al Tenco, who said that, and he also said this during the Senate hearing, that you assisted Cassandra Leong, right, again to settle the arrears of Lucky South 99. And he described Cassandra as a young woman in her 20s, right? And I thought that was quite curious, because how is a young woman in her 20s handling such a huge sum of money? Could you give us more information on who she is and how exactly did you meet her?
Well, I know Cassandra Ong as the corporate secretary for Whirlwind. And the reason for this is she signed pleadings that I submitted before the Court of Appeals, before the Regional Trial Court, and before the Metropolitan Trial Court, no, on behalf of Whirlwind in connection with this ejectment case. And prior to that, I met her as an employee of Whirlwind, because it has been a year prior to our meeting in PAGCOR that I've known Whirlwind, and I've been encouraging them to invest in renewable energy projects, such as two solar projects in Cebu. No? Unfortunately, I was not able to convince them, because they came up with a decision that they may, in fact, implement their own solar farm project, including an integrated solar panel manufacturing facility. No? Okay. So I knew them as a potential investor in a renewable energy project. And of course, I know them also as a real estate company, because they told me that they have a facility that they are leasing to a POCO.
Okay, so Attorney Roque, let's just clarify. You're saying that you are not lawyering at all for Lucky South 99, but are you legally representing Whirlwind Corporation, the lessor of Lucky South 99?
Yes.
Okay.
I entered my appearance formally in the Court of Appeals, in the Regional Trial Court, as well as in the Metropolitan Trial Court.
Okay. The DOJ has said that they will be filing for a precautionary whole departure order with the Office of the Executive Judge. This is on top of the ILBO that has already been issued. What can you say about that? You are also a lawyer. Does this...
I wish them luck. Yeah. Because so far they have not filed any cases against anyone in Lucky South other than a case for torture against two Chinese nationals, no? But even that case will not stand scrutiny, because torture, as you know, is a crime that can only be committed by state agents for the purpose of extracting information. No? So even the charge of torture, I think, is wrong. The only time a non-state agent can create that or commit that crime is under the International Humanitarian Law Act, and that is when it is committed by non-state actors such as the New People's Army. No? But other than the torture case, they've not filed anything. How can they file for human trafficking when at the time they raided the facility, it was literally empty? All the individuals that they apprehended were not apprehended in the facility itself, but in neighboring areas.
Do you know the 11 other people that was included in the ILBO, the Immigration Lookout Bulletin?
I only know Cassandra, no one else. I also know Mr. Wu, no? As a shareholder also of Whirlwind. So I only know two of them. Wu? I do not know the rest.
Mr. Wu, who is Mr. Wu?
I think he's listed there as one of the individuals included in the lookout order.
And I wonder, when was the last time you spoke to Cassandra, attorney?
Well, the last time I saw her was a long time ago. The last time I contacted her was, I think, last month, and I've not been able to contact her since.
But have you tried, though? Like, is her phone not ringing anymore? Is it, out of service?
Of course, I try all the time, because I said you have to come home and face the investigations, because you have nothing to hide, in the same way that I don't have anything to hide. The fact that you are a lessee of the land where the facility is built is very well documented, precisely because there's an ongoing case between the landowner and Whirlwind. And the fact that you are in turn a sublessor to Lucky South is also very well documented. No? So I don't think there's a reason for them not to appear in the investigations in the same way that I've been appearing. And despite the fact that legislators have been coming to baseless conclusions, that nothing has been established as far as wrongdoing is concerned.
Okay, what about Sun Li-ming? This was the supposedly Chinese fugitive convicted or wanted for fraud that was caught in a Benguet house, and you had something to do with the ownership. Do you know this person, Sun Li-ming?
I do not know Sun Li-lim. I know that I have or the corporation that owns the house has a lessee, and it is a woman who is a holder of an alien certificate of registration. When you have an ACR, that means you have passed the scrutiny, including an NBI clearance, no? And that is why, as a matter of practice, no, lessors of foreigners should ask for ACRs, because without an ACR, they have no business being residents here. I have shown the authorities the lease contract. It's pretty straightforward. It was leased to a woman who is single, and I had no idea that there was a fugitive in that house.
Okay, but the ownership is not yours alone, yeah? It was under a corporation which you were part of. Can you confirm that? I heard it in the Senate hearing. Yeah, and
it is.
Okay. Can you explain, like, what's your role in that corporation? Are you just simply the legal representative? Are you just one of the shareholders? Do you actually know anything about the, the deals, the rent contracts, the lease contracts, etc.?
Well, what is clear is that the ownership of the property is in a corporation. And I appear as a nominal shareholder in a corporation that in turn owns the corporation that owns the residence. I have said that I have lived in that house. I have an interest, and there are now steps being undertaken so I could consolidate my ownership of the corporation that owns the said corporation, because I intend to retire in that house. I'm now 58 years old. No? So that is not being denied. But the reality is, I have a lease contract. I had no idea he's a fugitive. And what is more important is, on the basis of the red notice filed by China, the Chinese government, in the Interpol, there is no mention that this fugitive is wanted because of POGO connections. He's wanted because of e-commerce fraud. No? And the fact that legislators have concluded that there is a tie between this fugitive and Lucky South is simply baseless at this point, because PAOK has only started their investigations. So I appeal to them, please do not make baseless conclusions, because PAOK has only started the investigations. We are fully cooperating with the investigation. The officers and stockholders of the registered owner of the house have agreed to a voluntary search of the premises, even without a search warrant, to show that the corporation has nothing to hide. It's simply a case of, we had a tenant who seemed legitimate, who had all the papers, we leased it to them, and turns out there was a fugitive in the house.
Attorney Harry, you have now been included as a person of interest dito nga po sa investigation ng PAOK. And they did say that everything that they've found that connects you dito po sa POGO activities is too much to be a coincidence. So, on your part, sir, is all of this just a coincidence for you?
That's a ridiculous statement to make, given that they're still ongoing with their investigation. You know, normally, police investigations are not even covered by freedom of information. So I find it surprising that they're making premature declarations when they have only started their investigation. But to be fair, I have heard USEC Gilbert Cruz say, we are investigating. And I have said, I welcome this investigation because the investigation will show and prove that I have nothing to do with POGO or any illegal activities.
Attorney, kaya nga, you keep saying that you have nothing to do with POGOs, but there's bits and pieces of evidence that have come up. These are the coincidences that Pauline was mentioning. So, for instance, Sean was talking to you about the Chinese fugitive who was caught in that Benguet house, of which you have an interest, your name in the org chart, PAOK recovering appointment papers for your former assistant, A.R. De La Serna, at that the Lucky South 99, the POGO hub that was raided, and also you admitted your assistance to Cassandra Leong, who is now fled the country. So all these, I mean, there's no smoking gun, so to speak, but how do you explain all these different bits and pieces of evidence and linking you to POGOs?
Well, let me ask you, what do these circumstances prove? What crime did I commit? It's not for me to establish what crime did I commit, no? It's for the investigators to prove at least a prima facie showing that I committed a crime. But all the circumstances, taken as they are, don't prove any crime. I highlight the fact that, again, after the Pampanga POGO was raided, they've only filed a case against 2 foreign nationals for torture, nothing else. So where is the illegality?
Last coming.
Last,
we are sorry. We're gonna have to leave that there. We've clear run out of time. We'll pick this up another time with you. Thanks so much for joining us on The Big Story tonight. Attorney Harry Roque, former presidential spokesperson.
Thank you very much, ladies.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, but up next, U.S. Coast Guard arrive in Limay, Bataan to help clean up the oil spill as Bataan is placed under a state of calamity again. Keep it here.
Welcome back. You are still watching Big Story here on One News. The Department of Foreign Affairs has issued an advisory for Filipinos in Bangladesh where violent protests have toppled the government. It said the Philippine government is closely monitoring the developing situation in Bangladesh. The Philippines calls for the peaceful and orderly transition of power in the People's Republic of Bangladesh following the resignation of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina on August 5, 2024. The Philippine Embassy in Dhaka and the entire government stand ready to assist Filipinos affected by the ongoing political developments in the country, and the Philippines conveys its solidarity with the people of Bangladesh and commits to efforts aimed at restoring peace and stability in Bangladesh. Since August 2, the Philippines has raised Alert Level 1 in Bangladesh, which urges all Filipinos in the country to remain indoors and to regularly monitor the situation during this period of transition. The protests actually began peacefully in early July with students protesting quotas in civil service jobs, which they called discriminatory. But the movement quickly expanded. Clashes followed, and now some 300 people are estimated to have been killed in the unrest. The long-serving Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina cut off internet access in parts of the country, imposed a nationwide curfew, and called those demonstrating terrorists. Protesters stormed the palace after she resigned, and reports say she is now in India. The Bangladeshi army is now forming an interim government.
Philippine officials are getting a helping hand from the U.S. as they race to contain the oil spill in Bataan. U.S. Coast Guard personnel arrived in Limay, Bataan today and provided technical assistance to local responders. The Philippine Coast Guard has been working on sealing the valves of the sunken MT Terra Nova, which carried 1.4 million liters of industrial oil. Operations are also underway to recover the two other vessels that sank off the coast of Bataan. The province has now declared a second state of calamity, this time due to the impact of the oil spill. Just 2 weeks ago, the province declared the same after widespread flooding from monsoon rains and Super Typhoon Karina. Meanwhile, the Justice Department has vowed to go after those liable for the oil spill and is now investigating a possible conspiracy that led to the incident.
Definitely may mga red flags nung sinimulan ho natin ang fact-finding investigation. Hindi pa gaano kalalim yung fact-finding investigation dahil po ang sinasabi ng PCG ay kailangan po ng konting time para po i-contain muna yung oil spill bago sila makapagbigay ng isang report sa atin. No? Doon pa lang sa kwento ng PCG kung ano talaga ang nangyari doon sa oil spill, meron na tayong nakikita mga irregularities. Pero hindi pa natin pwedeng masabing interconnected talaga sila dahil nasa nasa starting stage ng fact-finding investigation.
The PCG, on the other hand, is investigating whether the capsized vessels were engaged in oil smuggling.
Meron pong barko kung saan dito po sila kumukuha ng fuel sa laot. So yan po yung sistema nila, gamit po yung maliliit na bangka. Po tayo ay nakipag-ugnayan din sa National Bureau of Investigation para po ang gagandak po natin na operasyon dito po sa isyong ito ay joint. At yung pong mga previous history nila, hindi lang po nitong Mirola, pati na rin po yung ibang barko dito, ay atin pong iimbestigahan.
But that's it for the big story tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night.